Oh, why, hello there. Sorry, I was just getting ready for GarbAugust. Number 4, I think, is the year. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Bookshelf Odyssey. My name is Art, and today I want to share my GarbAugust TBR. Now, GarbAugust is a book challenge that was created by Criminali. And I'll link his channel down below if you don't follow him. He talks about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Hey, it's a tagline. And so every year they have a reading event called GarbAugust where we celebrate trashy literature by reading nothing but trash. I'm not saying this book is trash. I'm just saying if this book were trash, it would be a step up. Okay, sorry. All that aside, trash is in trashy literature is a very complex definition, because as Ollie says on his channel, we don't use that term to be to be derogatory towards literature. We use it with a sense of love and enjoyment. That there are books that, yes, it's fine to read, the high classics, and you know me, I love a good Victorian novel. But let's be real. Sometimes Victorians were all about the overwrought melodrama, the penny dreadfuls, the gothic literature that probably were considered trash in their time period. And today we have university courses designed around these books. So as the Grinch would say,
one man's toxic sludge is another man's potpourri.
Which is a kind of soup, I guess. Anyway, I think the first or second year they did GarbAugust, I thought it was interesting, but I didn't want to read a lot of really books I would consider trashy, full of gratuitous sex and things like that. That just didn't appeal to me because I have Victorian sensibilities. But then I realized that the term that they use for trash really is quite broad, and you can really make it be anything you want it to be. So when I had that idea, I began to specifically set aside time in August to read Victorian penny dreadfuls, which certainly count as trash literature. And I have enjoyed that so much. And I get to also pick out some other books that I found along the way that have been a kind of guilty pleasure read, as it were. So what I want to do today is just talk about some of the books I'll be reading in August on my trashy TBR. I actually will be following the prompts this year. I don't think I've ever done that before. And I want to share a bit about what I'll be reading. And so week 1 runs from August 1st through the 10th. And it's anything goes. Whatever you want to read, whatever trash you enjoy, go for it. It's like a gluttony of pure garbage. And so I'm going to read a book called The Mummy! Exclamation point. I think the subtitle is called A Novel of the 22nd Century. Now, I can't remember where I heard about this book, but it might have been I was looking for some penny dreadfuls to read while I was preparing ahead of time here for GarbAugust. I don't recall, but it's a book that was written in 1827. It's a 3-volume book, and it was written by a woman named Jane Webb, who later was married, and her pen name was Jane C. Loudon. And according to Wikipedia, that summary there, it says it concerns the Egyptian mummy of Cheops, who is brought back to life in the year 2126. So 1920, 21. So she's writing a book that took place 300 years in her future. And the novel describes a future filled with advanced technology and was the first English language story to feature a reanimated mummy. It goes on to say that Loudon did not portray the future as her own day with only political changes. She filled her world with foreseeable changes in technology, society, and even fashion. The hero, Edric Montague, lived in a peaceful and Catholic England under the rule of Queen Claudia. Her court ladies wear trousers and hair ornaments of controlled flame, which sounds pretty cool. Surgeons and lawyers may be steam-powered automatons. Air travel by balloon is commonplace. A kind of internet is predicted in it. Besides trying to account for the revivification of the mummy in scientific terms, she embodied ideas of scientific progress and discovery that now read like prophecies to those later in the 19th century. Many of the incidents in the book can be seen as satirical or humorous. Her social attitudes have resulted in this book being ranked among feminist novels. And I'll link that Wikipedia article in the show notes. It was really informative. So I've already begun reading this book. I started a couple days earlier in July. And already it's really interesting. Like it says, it takes place in the future. The introduction took place in modern times, 1827. And it's the author wanting to write a book, but she wants to write something new and never seen before. And she has this vision of this almost angelic creature who hands her this scroll, this document, and basically says, here's something different that you've never written about, and that no one's written about. Here's what you're seeking. And I found that to be a really fascinating kind of framing device for the story. So then in chapters 1 and 2 takes place, 300 years later, and we're introduced to the society, to the queen, briefly, and then we're introduced slowly to the character of Edric. He has an older brother whom his father loves far more than him. I got kind of vibes of Boromir and Faramir from Lord of the Rings, kind of a dynamic, especially with their father. And he is, it's really funny how in chapter 2, he was talking about Edric was talking about wanting to, he's been studying and learning under a teacher, and his teacher pointed out how he seemed distracted today, and Edric says that he's been thinking about wanting to try to revive a corpse, but he doesn't want to because he doesn't want to have to touch a dead body. So and so that's why they settled on, hey, they just uncovered Cheop's tomb, let's resurrect the mummy, because his organs are still all intact and his body is wrapped up with mummy wraps, so we won't have to worry about touching or seeing anything icky. And I don't know, I found that really delightful, and it kind of charming, to be honest. And that's kind of where I left off. I'm really interested to see how this will develop. Stay tuned, I guess. That's been a lot of fun. So that's not even a Victorian novel. That was written in the age before Victoria. So is that I always get this wrong. It's Regency, I guess, or the Edwardian period, perhaps. Anyway, Jane Austen's time. Although she would have passed away not a few years before that. So that's how I will be reading prompt 1. Jane Loudon sounds like an interesting person herself. It doesn't look like she wrote a lot, but the Wikipedia article went on to link to another that said that she would come to have 3 major and contrasting intellectual achievements. I found this fascinating. She explored cultures and gained familiarity in several languages, which would benefit her later on in her travels. At age 27, she would publish the first fictional book about mummies, which introduced a new genre to fiction. And that's the book, The Mummy. Finally, after her marriage to horticulturist and landscape designer John Loudon, she changed to botanical writing. Jane became responsible for introducing gardening to middle-class society through her easy-to-understand gardening manuals. She was a pioneer as a woman to make botanical information accessible to those outside the field. And to further her ideas and her output in society, she became a self-taught botanical artist. So she sounds incredible. And I hope there's more information about her. I would be very interested in reading more about her. But that's perhaps a video for another day. Week 2 runs from August 11th through the 17th, and it's all about the shock value. Read something that is shocking just for the sake of being shocking, perhaps. Now, this is where I want to plug in what has become a yearly tradition to read what's called a splatter Western. These are books that are put out by Death Head Publishing, I believe it's called, and they're a combination of Western horror novels, specifically splatter. So the gorier, the better. So I've read books called The Magpie Coffin, Hunger on the Chisholm Trail, which I believe had to do with zombies. And then Dust by Chris Miller, which was kind of a combination Western with Lovecraftian horror and the whole Cthulhu myth kind of mashed together into a novel. I believe there was time travel involved as well, and a lot of graphic violence. These books are just delightful fun. They know what they are, and they revel in them. So this year, I was going to read a sequel to the Magpie Coffin called For a Few Souls More, but I think I was actually decided to go with something different. And what I'm going to read is a book called The Night Silver River Run Red. Here's what this book is about, and you can see the cover art is incredible. This says, some things, according to Cody McCall, are worth risking a whipping, such as sneaking out with your friends after dark for a peek at the traveling show setting up just outside of town. Oddities, the signs promise. Marvels, grotesqueries, exotic attractions and mysterious magics. Not as if they'd be allowed to attend otherwise, not with parents and preacher and schoolmarm all disapproving. But how often does a chance like this come along? There isn't much else by way of excitement in quiet, peaceful Silver River, a once prosperous boomtown slowly gone bust. Worth risking a whipping, sure. Worth risking life and limb, and maybe more? Worth risking being ripped to pieces by ravenous, inhuman brutes? Worth crossing paths with those strange, silent cult folk from the High Valley? Worth all the fire and bloodshed and horror and death? Because something far worse than any ordinary traveling show has come to town, and one thing is for certain: those who survive, if any, will never forget the night Silver River Run Red. All right, that sounds like fun. Looks like it kind of dabbles in with the that carnival sideshow kind of culture. I don't know. We'll see how bad it could be. Certainly not high literature, but a blast to read. And what better way than to spend these hot, humid summer nights reading about the horrors of the Old West. Okay. So that's week 2, I believe. Week 3, August 18th, which is my birthday. Happy birthday to me. August 18th through the 24th, Cozy Trash. Now, this is where maybe I rankle a little bit about what we classify as trash, because that's a week where, in honor of Alice, we are from Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. We are going to read something cozy, and specifically they're mentioning cozy mysteries. Now, I certainly don't consider cozy mysteries trash, but I know some do, and they think maybe the setting is too quaint or the mystery isn't deep or twisty enough for them, and I get that. Cozy mysteries are all about really the cozy vibes, the relaxed setting, the low stakes, perhaps. But this is to read in honor of Alice from Alice and the Giant Bookshelves, who was a friend of this channel and to many others. I do miss our yearly Ray Bradbury reading that I would do with her and Mitzi every year. And so I wanted to do that in honor of Alice. So this year I'll be reading Guilty as Cinnamon, which is book 2 in the Spice Shop Mystery series. That's a new to me series. I just read the first one earlier this year, I believe it was. It was called Assault and Pepper. It takes place in Seattle, which is a place as I've mentioned in previous videos, or even this video, I've mentioned in previous videos, I would love to go back and visit one day. Let's see, where am I? Yeah, so Guilty as Cinnamon. It says murder heats up Seattle's Pike Place Market in the next spice shop mystery from the national best-selling author of Assault and Pepper. Springtime in Seattle's Pike Place Market means tasty foods and wide-eyed tourists, and Pepper's spice shop is ready for the crowds. With flavorful combinations and a fresh approach, she's sure to win over the public. Even better, she's working with several local restaurants as their chief herb and spice supplier. Business is cooking until one of Pepper's potential clients, a young chef named Tamara Langston, is found dead, her life extinguished by the dangerously hot ghost chili, a spice Pepper carries in her shop. Now stuck in the middle of a heated police investigation, Pepper must use all her senses to find out who wanted to keep Tamara's new cafe from opening before someone else gets burned. And it includes delicious recipes, so what's not to love? Has anyone ever tried a ghost pepper? I haven't. I hear they are horrifyingly spicy. I work with a guy who said a coworker tried eating a really spicy pepper, it might have been a ghost pepper, and it caused him to the tears, the burning in his mouth. It had such an impact on him that he actually lost the ability to hear for a short time. Like, wow, that's spicy. Not going to try one, but I'm going to read the book. The first one was fun. It didn't feel like a home run to me, but I enjoyed it enough. I wanted to read the next one and just see how the series got going. Sometimes they take a book or two. But with the setting and everything, I thought it was good enough to give it a try. So that's Guilty as Cinnamon, and I will be reading that during week 3 of GarbAugust. And then week 4 is Apocalyptic Trash. Read something for the apocalypse. So, of course, I'm going to turn to zombies, and I'm going to turn to the master of zombie novels, Jonathan Maberry. He has written several series and trilogies concerning the zombie apocalypse, and I believe they kind of form a sort of connected universe, perhaps. But I'm reading a book called Fall of Night, and it's the Dead of Night series, book 2. I think it's just a 2-book series. I read the first one earlier this year and really enjoyed it. And that was called Dead of Night, and that shows the beginnings of how a zombie apocalypse broke out. And that happened when a prison doctor injected a serum into a condemned serial killer with a formula designed to keep his consciousness awake while his body rots in the grave. So this horrific torment this guy planned for the serial killer. I mean, can you imagine, your mind still being awake while you're buried alive and left to rot, and your body just slowly decays, and you can't move, you can't scream, you can't yell, nothing. I mean, it's horrifying. The twist is it basically turned him into a zombie, and he went around infecting people. And so now the apocalypse is getting close to getting out of hand. And that's where book 1 ended. So book 2 picks up, it looks like, right after book 1 ends. And it follows a couple of main characters. One is named Desdemona Fox. She's, I believe, a police officer or FBI. I can't remember which, but I think she was a police officer. And so she and her partner, along with a journalist, are desperately trying to survive and to help curtail this zombie outbreak. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that series wraps up, or how the book ends, and if it will connect to Maberry's other books. I would really recommend, I believe it's called the Rotten Ruined trilogy, although there might be 4 books in that series. They take place well after the zombie apocalypse has happened, and basically the world is a disaster arena, and it follows the story of one young man who's coming of age in the zombie apocalypse and post-apocalypse. It's really good, really incredibly fun action scenes, along with some real heart-rending moments, fascinating characters, all that you would want in a zombie novel and more. I highly recommend that. I believe it's classified as a YA book or a YA series. The violence is a little high, but and the language might be a little salty, but other than that, it would be okay for depending on the age of the young person to read. But yeah, so my apocalyptic pick would be for Fall of Night, a zombie novel by Jonathan Maberry. All right, that's my GarbAugust planned. I'm going to be probably reading some short stories that were classified as penny dreadfuls as well. I found a collection of short penny dreadfuls, so I might be reading those throughout the month also, but I'm not sure yet with what I have time for. But that's something I'm keeping an eye on as well. So are you participating in GarbAugust? Like me, are you bringing a little class to the gutter reading we all engage in? Let me know below what you might be reading, and we'll continue the conversation there. Until next time, happy reading and take care.